Hello everyone. Welcome back. I'm Bumi, and today we are watching Is Meat Really That Bad by Kurzgesagt in a nutshell. This channel is a personal favorite of mine. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think I've missed a single one of their videos since they were created. The channel was. Um, yeah, I was debating on whether to just keep watching this channel to myself or if I should do a reaction to the newer videos. Their latest video topic is something that I wanted to touch about. Well, I don't know if I can bring anything to the table, but yeah, it's a very interesting topic that not a lot would probably touch with a 10-foot pole. This is a very polarizing topic. I myself, as you can clearly see from my body, I am fat. I am not a vegan. I primarily eat meat, specifically pork. I know that's unhealthy, but that's just something that I like to eat. Now, I'm not saying that you should just eat meat. It's up to you. It's your life, so make your own decisions. I particularly don't like to eat vegetables, but I do still eat them. Well, certain types of vegetables, I guess, if they're part of a fried rice or something. I myself personally don't go out of my way to eat vegetables. So yeah, that's where I stand. Is meat really that bad? The answer that they're gonna give out is probably, it depends. It will probably lean towards the better side, but then again, this subject or this topic is a bit touchy, and it's probably one of the more confusing ones because the answer is always it depends. Yeah, people still. I understand that while there are meat substitutes, they're not a lot. Well, at least they are not present here in my country, so that's not an option for me. Although I would like to try one of those plant-based burgers that I've kept hearing about. I heard that they feel just like real beef. So yeah, that would be an interesting taste, but like I said, we don't have that in our country, so that's a non-option for me. It's it's Kurzgesagt. If you don't know this channel, I highly recommend checking out his videos. Or hey, let's rewatch them together. Let me know down in the comments on what specific video you'd like me to check out. I'll be more than happy to watch it again. I mean, I already do watch their videos multiple times, so yeah, why not do a video about it, right? Yeah. Aside from that, though, I am interested to see what their research has brought into this video. So let's just go ahead and check this out. So remember, if you like my reactions, don't forget to leave a like. Let me know your thoughts on the video down in the comment section below, and consider subscribing. Also, again, let me know if you have your suggestions. Leave them down on what I should check out next. Either a Kurzgesagt video or any other video, as long as it's not a trivia video. But yeah, that being said, let's go ahead and watch the video.
Food is arguably the best thing about being alive. No other
Yes.
bodily pleasure is enjoyed multiple times every day and never
Mm-hmm.
gets old. It's an expression of culture, our parents' love, and a means of celebration.
Oh yeah, and I just started experimenting on cooking. I'm trying to copy one of my favorite restaurants dish. So yeah, I've been into cooking lately a lot.
Comfort. That's why it hits a special nerve when we're told we should change what and how we eat to fight
Mm-hmm.
rapid climate change.
Very
One of the
touchy
most
subject.
delicious foods, meat, gets the worst press. It doesn't help that the topic is really hard to properly research yourself and that debates get emotional quickly.
Yeah.
But
Oh
clearly,
yeah. Yeah. We need to touch up on that actually. The debates on whether you either go vegan or continue to eat meat gets emotional really quickly, especially when well, it's mostly on the vegan part, right? Vegans get emotional really quickly. Not that I'm dishing something out to them. Like I said, I don't care what you eat. Go ahead and eat what you want. Um, I guess what I'm trying to say is just let's just respect what other people eat. Oh man, that's probably bad. No. Of course not. Not just that, no, not just respecting what other people like to eat. Um, I guess I kind of get the environmental aspects of it. Cow farts do account for a lot of the CO2 and methane in the air, so yeah, there's probably that. Now I'm confused. God damn it. Let's just watch the video.
Science can give us an answer. The reality is, well, it's complicated. Let's take a look at 3 climate arguments against meat that are used a lot and see what happens.
Animation style, so good. So simple yet so good.
1. Does our diet really play that big a role in climate change? Feeding billions of people is impossible without causing emissions. Even if someday we have zero-carbon tractors, refrigerators and cookers running on renewable energy, and electric trucks to move our food, there are still unavoidable emissions. Rice emits methane. We cut down forests to make room for pastures and crops. And we emit nitrous oxide when we use fertilizers and manure. Worldwide food production is responsible for about 26% of all human-made greenhouse gas emissions.
That's
which
actually a
is
lot.
unfortunate, since food is not optional.
Necessary. Yeah, it
While
is necessary.
26% doesn't sound that bad, it means that even if we extinguished all other sources of emissions today, the emissions from food alone would still use up our entire carbon budget by 2100. So
But that's not counting the carbon sequestration that we've been doing, right? It uses it up if we don't, well, how do you call this? Advanced carbon capture technology. I mean, if we can eliminate the other sources of emissions, and I'm pretty sure that we're not doing that. As long as we continue to use oil, that's never gonna happen, and you know how hard those guys lobby. If we can improve our carbon capture technology, then we can probably lessen that by a lot.
So no matter how we twist and turn it, food is a real driver of climate change. Still, emissions from different food items vary a lot. How do things look when we compare their footprints separately? Food's climate impact is most often based on life cycle assessments, an analysis that looks at all the emissions of a product throughout its existence, from production to transportation, packaging, use, and waste management. In the most detailed meta-analysis of life cycle assessments to date, beef emissions stand out at the top. On average, a kilogram of beef emits 71 kilograms of CO2 equivalents.
Oof, that's a
Lamb
lot.
is also high at 40 kilograms. Pork emits 12.
Yeah, go pork. That's a bias coming from me. I like pork. I've recently eaten beef, some actual beef steak, and I didn't really like it. Well, it wasn't bad. I probably wasn't conditioned to eating beef as outside of burgers. So yeah, I still prefer pork to this day, not other meat. My family likes to eat goat. I don't eat goat. Lamb, I haven't tried lamb. Like I said, beef, I just recently eaten like an actual beef steak cooked the American way, but I didn't really like it. So yeah, I'm just gonna stick to pork until I die.
And poultry 10 kilograms.
Oh, and
At the
poultry
bottom
too.
we have lots of plant.
When it comes to poultry though, I've only eaten chicken. I've tried duck, it was okay, but I still prefer chicken. Yeah, so I'm very basic when it comes to food.
Based foods.
Tofu,
Potatoes, for
no.
example, emit
Potatoes I
around
do like.
150 times less than beef. The most important aspect of food isn't weight though, it's nutrient density. A kilogram of beef would keep you alive much longer than a kilogram of potatoes. So how does the ranking change if we compare emissions per calorie or protein?
Not a lot,
Not
actually.
much. Animal protein is still the most costly for the environment, and beef and lamb are also outliers in emissions per calorie. But is this fair? After all, not all beef is the same. There are all sorts of ways to rear cattle, from pure grass-fed to factory farming. The worst beef comes in at 105 kilograms of emissions per 100 grams of protein, the best at only 9, a tenfold difference. In contrast, most other foods, especially plant-based, have a much narrower spectrum. Still, the best beef is worse than the worst plant.
But if you compare them with like nutrient density though, I wonder how small the gap is gonna be. Because that is let's see. Yeah, that is counting per 1 kilogram. But if you think about the nutrient density, you probably need more kilograms of grains and what was the other one? Tofu, to match a kilogram of beef, right? So that's probably gonna increase.
Still, the best beef is worse than the worst plant. Okay, but this seems promising. Can we buy the right beef and lower our emissions? Maybe by buying locally produced beef to minimize our footprint? 2. Does buying local food actually matter?
Not really, probably.
Let's stick with beef since it's such an outlier. By buying locally, you are trying to avoid emissions from transportation and packaging. But it turns out these only account for 0.5 to 2% of beef's total emissions. Actually, transport and packaging combined are only about 11% of all food emissions. Nearly all food transport emissions are produced over the last few miles. The regional travel on
So I guess what they're trying to say is that even if we convert to all electric, which is zero emissions, you're only just cutting the carbon emissions by 11% on average.
the road supplying
Not really
the markets
that
and
much.
shops in your area. International food transport happens mostly on freight ships, which are insanely efficient. For example, shipping 1 kilogram of avocados from South America to Europe generates about 0.3 kilograms of CO2 equivalents in transport emissions and around 2.5 kilograms overall, while 1 kilogram of beef from your local butcher will come in at 18 kilograms in CO2 equivalents at least. So even when shipped great distances, emissions from almost all plant-based foods cause lower emissions than locally produced animal products. Okay, so if transport doesn't play a big role, what causes the vast amounts of emissions from beef then?
Cow
By
farts.
far the largest share of beef emissions consists of methane released directly by the animals.
Cow farts.
While CO2 hangs around for centuries, methane only stays in the atmosphere for decades. But in these short periods, it is very powerful. All in all, methane has already caused 23 to 40% of human-made warming so far. There's controversy about how bad this is exactly, and we don't want to dive in too deep here, but the way things stand, any kinds of extra emissions are not great. Still, all cows burp and fart to similar degrees. What explains the spectrum of beef emissions? There are a couple of things. It makes a difference if the beef comes from a dairy herd or one dedicated to beef production. 44% of the world's beef comes from
I've seen those videos of like factory farmed cows seeing grass for the first time. That was sad to look at. You can tell how excited they were when they saw grass.
dairy cows, sharing its footprint with dairy products. Dairy cows tend to get higher quality feed, which makes them grow faster and emit less methane. Geography also plays a role because it determines which farming methods are possible. The worst factor by far is the destruction of forests for farmland. Not only does this release the CO2 that was bound in the flora, it sets free carbon that was stored in the soil and destroys its ability to store it in the future. This aspect accounts for much of the range of emissions in beef. The worst emitters are farms burning down rainforest for farmland, especially in Brazil. There is a sinister truth hidden here. The more animals suffer, the better they are in terms of climate change because they are way more efficient.
Yeah,
they
that's
use
true.
less land and their food is brought right to them, and so they grow faster and don't expend energy on things like walking. Cattle in a factory farm.
I mean, it is. It sounds really cruel to do it this way to the animals, but overall, environment-wise, this is the most efficient and probably the least ecologically damaging of all the types of farming. But still, it's a confusing topic.
Never get to roam pastures can sometimes be less destructive for the climate than cattle grazing peacefully on a formerly lush piece of rainforest. But isn't it a bit out of touch with reality to demonize cows
What is
so
that, a
much?
yak or
Some of the
something?
land these animals are grazing on isn't suitable for crops anyway. By grazing on pastures, they can turn things we can't digest into food. Isn't farming
True.
animals just a smart way to make the best use of unused resources? 3. Don't cows mainly use land that we can't use for agriculture or other things?
Long
About
title.
half of the world's ice and desert-free land is used for agriculture, an area the size of the entire Americas plus China. Half of all agriculturally used land is dedicated to animals. Most of it is grassland, 65% of which cannot be converted to cropland. So pasturing animals is actually a very efficient way to use those areas since we can't grow human food there anyway. There are a couple of catches here though. While the idea of cows turning useless grass into steak is nice, it is part of a marketing lie. Even though it is so massive, pastureland alone can't support the ruminants living on it. Globally, grazing systems sustain only 13% of beef production. So
Interesting.
if we were to switch to 100% grass-fed, we'd simply have to eat much less beef.
Yeah.
In the US, beef production would crash by some
Stonks.
70% if it were to exclusively rely on grass. The only way to sustain our high demand for meat is by growing crops and feeding them to our cattle.
Yeah. And that's one thing that a lot of people don't think about as well. We need to expand agricultural land to grow feeds for the animals, because of course we need to feed them for them to feed us.
And we haven't even talked about chicken and pigs, which
Pigs.
exclusively eat feed crops. Because of this feed demand, less than
Yeah,
half
here we
of
go.
the world's cereals are used directly as human food. 41% is fed to
Animals.
animals. The same is true for soy. There's a lot of talk about Amazon deforestation for soy production, which makes us think of soy milk and tofu. But only 19% of global soy production goes towards products for humans. About 77% is used to feed animals.
Yeah.
Besides, land without food crops isn't automatically ecologically useless. A beef-free diet would free up around 2 billion hectares, a vegan diet would free up around 3 billion hectares of land. We could use this land to grow forests or restore wild grasslands, basically anything that could suck carbon out of the atmosphere. If we spared 3 billion hectares of land, it could remove about 800 billion tons of CO2 from the air over 100 years. By comparison,
Is that a lot?
we emit about 50 billion tons of CO2 equivalents per year at the moment. Okay,
No, not a lot
to
then.
summarize, food is a huge...
Because the 800 billions was over 100 years, right? And we emit 50 billion around more or less per year, so that would make it last 16 years if my math isn't wrong. So yeah, even that is not a
at
lot.
the moment. Okay, to summarize, food is a huge driver of emissions. Meat, but especially beef, is the worst food in terms of emissions. Buying locally does not have a big impact on food emissions compared to the type of food you're consuming. When it comes to beef, cattle that
No.
are grass-fed can sometimes even be counterproductive
It's a duck.
because they just need much
Or
more
a
land.
burb.
Even if you find the most environmentally friendly beef in the world, your burger still comes with a significantly higher carbon footprint than a veggie patty. You
Yeah.
can decide for yourself what you want to do with this information. In fact, you are always only one decision away from making a change. You
Is
can
this
start
brilliant
learning a
or
new skill
Skillshare?
dive
Skillshare.
into a new interest today. It's up to you. If only that first step wasn't so hard to take. We have something for you to make
That
it
was a
little
good-
easier.
that was a good
we
transition.
are big fans of Skillshare, an online learning community that offers thousands of classes for all skill levels in tons of creative disciplines like illustration, animation, or film and video.
Oh yeah, they have their own class there, right?
Unlimited access to all the classes is less than $10 a month with an annual premium membership. The first 1,000 Kurzgesagt viewers to click the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare.
This is probably
Since we
all used
started
up.
working with Skillshare, you, our viewers, have taken over 100,000 hours of classes, including our own 3
Yeah,
Skillshare
there you go.
classes on how we make our animations.
They have their own
In
class
one, you
there.
will learn all the basics like how to set up your project and layers, but also more details about how we work with tools and timing. You'll get to recreate
Where's
typical
the link?
Kurzgesagt scenes with our very own illustrations and get a sneak peek into the work
Nah, it's
process
almost
of our
done.
animators. If you've always been curious about animation, give it a try. But
Alright, I'm just gonna skip the whole speech for now. I'm scrolling through. Okay, so the link is just down in the description below. So let's see here. Alright, yeah, so go to skillshare.com/Kurzgesagt in a nutshell to support this channel. If you haven't heard of Kurzgesagt before, this is an incredible channel. Like I said, this is one of my personal favorites. Simply because they do a lot of good research when it comes to their topics, and I like that they do take their time into the research and compiling all the facts available. So you will know that whenever you watch a Kurzgesagt video, it's never half-assed, I guess you can say. And yeah, that's always a good thing, especially with all the random fake news and clickbaity bullshit that you keep seeing on YouTube. If you haven't watched any of their videos, it's a really it's a breath of fresh air, let's just say. But yeah, man, it's really a touchy subject when it comes to food. You always have the vegetarians slash vegan side always against the meat, but yeah, like I said, I personally don't care what you eat. Go ahead and eat what you would like. But for me, I'm just gonna stick with meat. I know it's not environmentally friendly, but there's really not a lot I can do there. Fish, I don't like to eat fish. I am allergic to a lot of seafood as well. And vegetables, not really a big fan of it. Hey, I mean, if I don't eat, I'm just gonna die, right? So, I don't even know where I'm going with that one. But yeah, man, decide for yourself. Just be respectful of other people's decision as well. And if we can come to that mutual respect and understanding, then probably we can think of a better compromise. If there is a way for me to eat the plant-based stuff, I will go ahead and try that one. I have been really curious of, was it the Impossible Burger or the Beyond? I think it's both Beyond and Impossible Burger are the ones that I keep hearing about, that the best tasting plant-based burgers. So yeah, one day, maybe, hopefully. um I have heard of some labs testing 3D printed meat. I'm excited to see where that technology leads as well. That's just gonna be it for me today, guys. Link to my Twitter is down in the description below. Go ahead and check it out if you want to. And if you're new here and enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like. Let me know your thoughts on the video down in the comment section below, and consider subscribing. Also, don't forget to leave your suggestions on what I should check out next. Hey, if you want me to revisit and rewatch the older Kurzgesagt videos, just let me know which one specifically, and I'll be more than happy to check it out. But yeah, just a disclaimer though, I have already watched most of them, so it's probably not a first time reaction, but probably I can give some thoughts about the video and hopefully give out new information. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!